15 for 15. I am your host, John Zalkin from RKW Residential. 15 for 15 is a new and exciting video series where we interview influential real estate people for 15 minutes each, where we will get their perspective on what's happening in real estate during COVID-19. A little bit about RKW. RKW Residential is an award-winning third-party multifamily property management firm with over 20,000 multifamily units under management and a growing footprint spanning 6 states. RKW delivers expertise in multifamily management through its technology, marketing, and customer experience platforms. My guest today is Alan Lips from Gerson, Preston. Alan, who joined the firm in 1995, concentrates his practice on international tax and estate planning, real estate, construction, manufacturing, and business consulting. Alan became a partner at GP in 2002 after establishing a significant international tax practice. Alan, it is great to see you, and thank you for taking the time to join me on this episode for 15 for 15. I'm really looking forward to hearing your perspective on the tax angle during COVID-19. Give me a little bit background on you a little more, and then we'll dive right into some great tax questions.
Sure. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me here, and hello to everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here in this strange and unusual time. A little background. I've been with the firm practicing public accounting, and we focus and closely held businesses significantly in the real estate area of business, whether it's construction, development, operating, everything under the real estate realm. It's just part of our everyday routine, and very focused on the tax planning side of it. Also very connected with the international tax planning side. Considering yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I know your practice pretty well, and it's an amazing large-scale real estate practice where you deal with a lot of people. And as much as real estate is always my main focus, I kind of want to dive into real estate focus-wise, but also what's going on with the CARES Act. Explain a little bit some of the details that people may have missed. So, and I know that you had said prior that there are a lot of big changes that have happened for real estate people. So give like an overview of CARES Act of what it is, and then tell us what you think are the most important issues that have made the changes in gears toward the real estate market.
Sure. So the CARES Act was really a big united perspective attempt to help keep the economy together, to help keep businesses in place and operating to some level, and I think most importantly, to keep people employed. And by keeping people employed, what the government did was create the PPP, which everyone knows is the Paycheck Protection Program. And that program was designed for small businesses, which there's a lot of definitions behind this. I'm not going to go into the details, but effectively small business, which is the core of America, to obtain a 2-year loan at 1% interest that is potentially forgivable based upon the use of the proceeds. This is certainly the biggest part of the CARES Act, and I think from a business perspective, the most significant and meaningful to many people within the local market here and throughout the country. On top of the PPP, there were many different tax benefits that were created within this program, which one of the most significant ones, I think, especially considering that 2020 is going to be a very tough year for most companies and most people, is the ability to take losses and carry them back. If everyone remembers, before 2018, everyone had the ability to take their net operating losses and carry them back 2 years. Well, as of 2018, with the change in the tax laws, that was taken away from us. And now what the government's done is they've said, okay, we know that everyone's in trouble. We know we've got situations now. Let's assume many people are going to lose money in 2020. We have the ability to take those losses and carry them back 5 years, which is really valuable considering that most companies and most people did very well over the last 5 years. And it's an opportunity to take that money, go backwards, and get significant tax refunds for taxes previously paid. I think that's a really exciting area of this CARES Act. and really is going to be meaningful to many people. On top of that, so there were some more recent things that were advanced through the administration, and one of those in particular, which really is very meaningful to South Florida, is if you're aware of the rules around all of the non-US people, the non-Americans that spend their time in the United States. Obviously, here in South Florida, we have lots of people who vacation here, spend as much time as they can, and many of those people organize their time here based upon what's called the substantial presence test, which means they can spend roughly 120 days here a year, spend 120 days in the United States each year, and avoid becoming a US taxpayer, which would then subject them to tax on their worldwide income. So as a result of this, what the IRS has come out and said is that anyone who was here prior to April 1st has the ability now to take 60 days for which they were here and they would not have ordinarily been here due to the COVID-19, and reduce those from the calculation so that it's not going to throw them over for purposes of that substantial presence test, which means that just because of this scenario where they can't travel, they won't be in trouble and they won't be stuck paying taxes in the United States and on worldwide income just because of the outbreak.
That's fascinating. So let me go back to one thing you were saying with the 5-year hold. I
Yes.
mean, we're going back 5 years. So if I paid $1 million a year in taxes the last 5 years, and let's say I lose $2 million this year in my business, I'm able to go back and get a refund for $2 million from my past taxes. Is that how it works?
Well, so it's going to be based upon the tax rates. So what's even more exciting about this is, look, I mean, from a simplistic perspective, if you lose $2 million in 2020 and you had more income than that in the previous years, and assume you had significantly more income than that in the previous years, you carry back that $2 million loss back 5 years to when the rates were higher than what they are today, and you get the advantage of those highest rates that you paid, could be 39.6% under the old regime before the changes were made in 2018. And it would be tax affected. So effectively, you're looking at a max return from a personal perspective of 39.6. And then if it's a corporate scenario, as many of our foreign investors are set up through corporations, as many of you know, those tax rates were changed in 2018. They were reduced from 35% to 21%. So
Wow.
before 2018, many of these corporations were paying 35%. So now all of a sudden we have this loss in 2020. We can carry that back 5 years and get back 35% on that.
So it's almost going to make a lot of people sell properties out or sell businesses at losses to get out. If they're in a deal, they're in a piece of land that they don't necessarily love, or their basis isn't so great, there's an incentive for somebody to sell today.
Well, I don't know that they're going to make a business decision based upon the tax side of this, which is never what I tell them to do or advise them, but certainly it's a consideration. And if it's something they're trying to get out of anyway, and they know that they can do it and they're happy with the deal, it's certainly a huge incentive to go back and get those 35% dollars or the 39.6% dollars if it's personal.
That's amazing. And what has happened with some depreciation? I know there were some changes in depreciation.
Yep, that's right. Under the CARES Act as well, there was a clarification from the previous law that was somewhat confused back in 2018, which the 15-year the 15-year leasehold improvements under the depreciation scenario, those are now clarified that they can be taken as bonus depreciation, which means that we have additional advantages for additional losses to be taken. And that can be done in the last 2 years as well. So there may be scenarios where we're going back in 18 and 19 and amending returns. We may be looking just to take those currently and carrying back losses. Either one way or the other, it's certainly going to create the opportunity to go back and get tax dollars that were paid at higher rates.
So with all these exciting changes, I'm sure you're speaking to a lot of your real estate clients, giving them finally some good news, because a lot of your real estate clients, I'm sure, has been rough. What are you hearing out there? I know you stretch from the multifamily to the retail to land development. I know your clients are some of the most it's really some of the largest players in South Florida. What are you hearing? Some anecdotes, what are your thoughts?
It's a big mix. You've got clients that have significant debt with big banks, and in general, it looks to me from what I'm seeing that the big bank debt holders are being relatively friendly and opportunistic and looking at ways to enable the clients to get through this and not be completely destroyed by missing one or two payments and getting some deferrals in those. On the other hand, you have a lot of these foreign investors that their loans aren't with the traditional banks. A lot of them are with these private lenders, and the private lenders are not always as friendly as these bigger banks are, and they're certainly not going to be as easily forgiving as the banks are when it comes to a missed payment or two.
And
So it's a pretty big range of what's happening. Certainly there's issues collecting rents, paying rents, every which way you turn. You have to just assume the worst.
And are people reaching out to you for tax consequences? I know loan forgiveness, there's tax consequences on there. I don't know if they're going to change that, but I know anytime you take something for free, the government's always going to to be there to get their hand out. So have you heard anything like that about what's going to happen if I do loan forgiveness or stuff like
Well,
that?
are you referring to the PPP loan forgiveness, or
No,
just in
no,
general?
I'm just talking about in general. If I have a loan with a bank that's a $5 million piece of paper, and the bank says, "Look, we're going to reduce your loan to $3 million, so we can make it payable as a retail, as a hotel, or something like that," there is a tax consequence if I remember correctly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen anything like that. I've seen where the banks have basically been giving deferrals, opportunities to either defer out for 90 days or a period of time where, they're just going to extend the loan. They're not going to penalize them, or they're going to give them some sort of arrangement to defer paying. I haven't seen any of the banks where they've said, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and give you a write down on your loan." I think it's a little soon to see those kind of things just because this is so new and quick, and I'd be a little shocked outside of the fact that there may be distressed scenarios where the banks decide that they're going to sell these loans. But I would have to imagine that those properties were probably in a distressed situation before this happened for the banks to be moving so quickly on that in this situation.
Yeah, I'm hearing
Yes.
more of the same of, there's a lot of troubled paper out there that was troubled before and that's trying to get sold. From my sources and the people I speak to on a regular basis, and the the private lenders, the bankers, nothing drastic is happening anytime soon. Everyone's saying give us 3 to 6 months to really see where we're going, and in 3 to 6 months, that's when, if there's going to be problems, I think that's when we see problems.
Absolutely. But I mean, if you're lucky enough to have a bank actually go ahead and give you a reduction now, then it is something you need to look at with your tax advisors, because you certainly have cancellation of indebtedness issues to deal with if that does take place.
Perfect. Well, I told you 15 minutes flies when you're with a great interviewer, right?
That's right. The best.
So now on to our lightning round, where we ask you a few questions. They've shrunk over since I've started this because a lot of them aren't pertinent anymore. But let's wrap it. Are you ready for your lightning round?
Let's do it.
Does the 10-year Treasury close over or under 1% by the end of the year?
Under.
Next time, this I know is very important to you. Next time you're on an airplane, over under 90 days.
Under.
Next time you
As long as my wife lets me.
right. The next time you attend a networking event, over under 90
Under.
days. Next lunch or dinner at a restaurant with a client, over under 90 days.
Under. I'm praying.
Will Trump win or lose?
When?
Does the stock market end over or under 20,000 by the end of the year?
Over.
Do you think you'll be on a vacation the next 6 months?
Absolutely.
I know you will be. Alan, I want to thank you for joining me today. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Everyone, we hope you all stay safe and practice social distancing, and make sure to wash your hands. If you have any questions or would like to find this video, please visit rkwresidential.com.